Welcome to our September 9th meeting. I call the meeting to order, and with that, I will read our public participation at town meetings. The Hatfield Select Board welcomes everyone to meetings and all other public meetings of the town of Hatfield. All regular and special meetings of the boards and committees of the town of Hatfield shall be open to the public and shall conform to the open meeting law. Executive sessions are closed to the public and will be held only as prescribed by the statutes of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. It is important to recognize that the open meeting law affords the opportunity to listen to the proceedings, but not necessarily participate. During meetings of the Select Board, an attempt will be made to find a balance between hearing from members of the community and conducting the required business of the Hatfield Select Board. For the public's information, this meeting is being recorded. Under announcements, I do have a reminder, if the lights are flashing, don't be a passing. School buses, last year, there were some incidents with cars passing the buses when their lights were flashing, and that's pretty serious. So I want people to remember, those lights are flashing on the buses, please stop. Also, there'll be milling of Elm Street. We finally, Marlo's been involved getting that project going, and that'll be started this week with the milling, but listen to the billboard that's out there in case anything changes, and it's weather dependent. So remember, and then there'll be paving shortly after that. So I just want people to be aware of it. Those are my announcements. I don't know if my colleagues have any announcements.
Yeah, I'd just like to extend a thank you to the Hatfield Police Department, Fire, and DPW after the storm that we had. Everyone had nice, quick responses, and we were able to get the roads open back up. And so very good job by all on that. So
Thank you.
yes.
Okay. Public forum. Is anybody here for public forum? Okay. Nobody here for public forum. I'll look for a motion on our minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the August 12th, 2025 meeting minutes.
We'll second that.
Motion made, motion seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Posted business. Our topic one will be Selena Fournier requests a one-day liquor license for a crafts fair on September 28th, 2025. From 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. It'll be at the Lions Club Pavilion in Hatfield. So I don't know if you'd like to come up to the microphone and let us know what's going on.
So I am Selena Fournier. I'm also the proprietor, owner of the Mill River Tavern here in Hatfield. And we hosted a craft fair last year that invited local vendors, farmers, anybody that had handcrafted items to kind of share within the community and welcome fall. Along with that, I was asked to come and provide some food and drinks for the guests of whoever was visiting down at the pavilion. And so this is our second annual, so to speak, that we're hosting. We have some more vendors this year, so we're definitely excited about that. And again, I was asked to come down and provide some fall treats and beverages and be part of the event.
I know last year it seemed to go well. I have no questions on this event.
I have no questions. Sounds like a good time.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve a one-day liquor license for craft fair on September 28th, 2025 from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the Lions Club Pavilion, Billings Way, Hatfield, Massachusetts.
Second.
Motion made, motion seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, good luck. I hope you have success.
Thank you.
Good luck.
We invite you all to visit.
Thanks for putting that on.
Take care.
Okay, topic two is Food Bank of Western Massachusetts requests for a one-day liquor license for a fundraiser on September 21st, 2025 from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. at the Hatfield Lions Club Pavilion.
A lot going on there.
Okay, here you go. We got
Yeah, I'm Cheyenne Burnham. I'm with Food Bank of Western Massachusetts. This is our 15th year doing this event. I think we've been doing it at the pavilion for about 12 years. But we'll have right now, we're anticipating about 500 cyclists this year for the event. And when they return from their cycling routes, there's an after party from like 2 to 5. And so there'll be free food and donated beer, wine, and cider for folks.
Well, I do want to thank you for all the work you guys do for the food bank. That helps the community and the residents and the community in the surrounding areas. So I think it's outstanding that you guys still do that kind of work for this area. So I don't have any.
Hatfield's been great to work with, and we really appreciate your support, and the police department and the EMT coming out for that event. And yeah, and I just want to reiterate, we do not spray paint the road. I want to make sure that's clear. We just put little signs up, and we try to make sure they're all down
I
the
appreciate
following
that.
week.
It's going to stick. It's going to, as long as it's removable.
Yeah.
We did have that one issue one year, right? I mean, there was an issue. Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
my 5th one, so I just want to make sure that I was against it. Boo her. No, sorry, she's on your goal.
I appreciate you bringing that up.
Yes, I do
you
too.
have, my colleagues have any questions?
No, that's good. I was actually going to bring that up there.
Okay.
I'm glad you did. Yes.
I will make a motion to approve a one-day liquor license for fundraiser on September 21st, 2025, from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. at Lions Club Pavilion, Billings Way, Hatfield, Massachusetts.
I'll second that.
Motion made, motion seconded. Any discussion?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Good luck with your event.
Good luck. Thank you.
Topic 3, we have a resignation from Stephen Gahn. And, you know, since I've been on the board, we have people come, people go, but this is a little bit different. Stephen, I think we always send a letter of appreciation, but I think we should be doing a little bit more with this resignation. I mean, Stephen, he joined the fire department in 1996, and he rose to chief. He was instrumental in helping us get a paramedic service, along with working within our fire department. He gave a lot of hours to the community. Matter of fact, his whole family has been exceptional with donating their time to community. Both his father, his mother, and his sister have always volunteered or assisted the town in different organizations. So on this resignation, I think that besides a letter of appreciation, something else should be in order for his 29 years of service to our town. But I open it up to my colleagues, trying to find out what should that be? Should it be a plaque? Should it be something else? Or what are your thoughts on this?
I agree with you. I think there should be something else done. I think a plaque would be fitting.
Okay.
Greg?
Yeah, if
Okay, so
Yeah,
we'll work
something
on
bigger,
something.
at least,
And-
yeah.
I mean, he's right now, he's assistant chief in Amherst, so, and I think he moved out of town, so it's almost impossible for him to continue.
Yeah.
And even though he wanted to, he just doesn't have the time. So we'll work out something with Andrew to come up with something, and maybe we'll have, maybe he's present here or something, we can give it to him.
Sounds good.
That sound like a
Yeah, that's a
thing?
great idea. Yeah.
Okay.
So with that, I guess I'll make a motion to accept the resignation of Stephen Gahn from the fire department.
I will second it.
Motion made, motion second, and I say it's with regret, but any discussion?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you, Stephen, for your years of service to the town of Hatfield. It is appreciated. Resignation of Kelvie Bird from Agricultural Advisory Commission. Do I have a motion on that?
Yep. I'll make a motion to accept the resignation of Kelvie Bird from the Agriculture Advisory Commission.
I'll second.
Motion made, motion seconded. Any discussion? Yes, I'd like to send her a letter of thank you for her time on the Agricultural Advisory Commission. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Topic 4, I know I see Sean walked in here, so I know he wants to say something on, he's requesting a wage salary adjustment for Jerry, which is well-deserved. So I'll let you speak on that, Sean.
Great, thank you very much for having me, I appreciate it. Yeah, and Jerry, what we're really looking at is a change in responsibilities. I mean, I think you all have seen how much the Council on Aging has grown, in which we knew the population of Hatfield was aging, so there were going to be more seniors, but we've also seen more activity from the Council on Aging. So some words prepared by the Council on Aging Board for you all. This year, the COA Board voted to reallocate $1,900 of our long-term state grant funds. So these are state grant funds intended to go towards the delivery of services to Hatfield seniors from the state to provide a modest wage adjustment for our director, Jerry Rogers. This decision was based on both a salary comparison with surrounding towns and the clear measurable growth in the responsibilities of the role, which is really our focus. Neighboring COA directors are compensated significantly more. Obviously, you have big towns like Belchertown at $92,000, but we've got South Deerfield about 2,500 above us. Hadley at 76,000, we're at 65,000. And we've got a very experienced Council on Aging director. Some of these places have younger, new Council on Aging directors. At the same time, we've expanded the job description too, so we updated the job description. I have a copy of this letter and the documents to provide to Andrew after for you all, to include managing My Senior Center, which is the data program that the Council on Aging uses that provides us all with detailed data on participation, maintaining our website, building a social media presence, and providing direct support to the Friends of the Council on Aging. That's another big responsibility of Jerry's. In the past, we always had the Council on Aging events that would happen regularly, but now with the Friends that raise, I want to say $6,000, $7,000 a year to support the Council on Aging, which Jerry led the effort to create, that's additional events that she has to be involved in. And though they operate independently, obviously still she has a role to play in making all of that happen. So that's additional work. So, now there's multiple evening and weekend events each year. But beyond the numbers, Jerry's redefined what leadership at the Council on Aging can look like. She's transformed the space into a warm, welcoming hub that draws people in. We would regularly hear in the past, we need a new Council on Aging. We need a new Council on Aging. I don't hear that as much these days. Of course, people would appreciate one, but I don't hear that come up as much. And I think largely that's because of the quality job not only did we do in the renovation, but actually I credit Jerry because she was an artist on the side. And so she visually was able to sort of put together down there in a way that I know I couldn't, that makes it feel really welcoming. It's a welcoming hub that draws people in. She's bringing creativity and innovation, like the new newsletter that's been in color the last couple of years. That's something we never had before. That's paid for through outside fundraising ads that go in there. So we don't even have that at cost anymore. Under her leadership, our programming has flourished. We've introduced multi-generational events like the Christmas event, the tree lighting that'll happen again this year that has all ages and families there. Partnerships with farm to improve nutrition. They partnered with Prospect Meadow Farm, and we offer our seniors an extremely discounted farm share that they're able to pick up right in the Council on Aging. And otherwise, usually those are subsidized through CISA, but we were unable to get into the CISA program. They didn't have enough money. So she was able to sort of talk to us and work out to get the same price that CISA would have provided to our seniors through Prospect Meadow Farm. So that's been great. But really the biggest reason I think this $1,900 makes sense is in the numbers. We collect a lot of data. We have to for our state funders. So one thing we collect is the number of interactions we have, meaning people coming to our events. So if you look at 2021, again, it's right after COVID, so obviously it's going to be lower, but that was 6,300 interactions. 2022, 10,584. 2023, 12,508. 2024, 14,848. And that's all because we're doing more activities, more classes. And Jerry's leading all of this. She's got two part-time retiree staff and her that manage all of these programs. The growth represents not just more activity, but a fundamental shift in the scope and scale. of the work required by our director for the Council on Aging, which again, we could have all anticipated, knowing that we had a town with an aging population. The wage adjustments we're proposing does not begin to match what her peers are paid, or really truly acknowledges the increased workload, the expanded responsibilities, but it is a gesture we can make within state funds that were meant for this purpose and provide to her. And I'm working on offsetting that even further. So even though she'd get the $1,900, we pay $1,500 a year for my senior center. My job, through exposure to my senior center here, we went with my senior center at ServiceNet for a contract. So I've contacted my senior center, letting them know that the referral came from here and asking if they can waive the town's $1,500 fee this year because of that referral. I believe, I haven't gotten an answer yet. I hope to get one before this meeting, but I believe that that will be a yes as well. So we're double offsetting it, even though it's state money that we could allocate for any purposes.
I know Jerry's been doing an exceptional job down there, and this rate increase is very modest, and it's within your funds to do it. So because of that, I don't have a problem with it myself. I do want to thank Jerry for all the work that she's done, and I've seen the programs increase downstairs, and I see more people utilizing those programs, and I encourage others in the community that are seniors to look at those programs and go to a couple. They might enjoy themselves. So, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I don't have an issue with it. I don't know if my colleagues do.
I don't. I'm just curious. Is this workload, is that going to make her, is she going to need longer hours? I mean, how can you not?
Longer hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, she is, because of the evening events. So even, for instance, some of you might have gone to the concerts the last couple of Fridays. Those are extremely long days for her. Her day still starts at 8, and those she'll be, sometimes I've seen her to 6:30, 7 o'clock. So yes, I'd say we did try to figure it out in anticipation of this, and it was hard to come with a firm number, but I ended up at around 40 to 45 hours over what she would have been expected to do even last year.
Okay.
With the number of new events that.
Okay, I just want to make sure that, because there's added hours on top of this increase, if that would be able to cover it all.
Yeah, no, it balances out because she's salary. It ultimately, yes, there is more work, but this is something we can say, even though we can't fully compensate you for what you're worth, we do have this in our budget. It is available. You are doing the task that otherwise we could spend that $1,900 to pay someone else, I guess, to do.
Right.
If you could find someone to do it.
Oh, no. I don't want her to be overloaded either, because she is doing a lot. So.
Yeah. Yes, that's something we want to revisit,
Yeah.
Over time. And we want to look for grant funds too, additional grant funds that can pay for some additional help. And then also we're interested in looking into college interns and potentially in the future being able to utilize some of that to help with evening activities. There are a lot of college students out there in nursing programs and things like that that would be interested in the connection to a Council on Aging, because that's one path they could take in a career.
Okay. And the annual grant,
Yes. Highland Valley.
that's really going to happen every year?
Highland Valley, we've gotten it every single year. Yeah, it's a formula grant, pretty much based on a number of seniors. I was on the Highland Valley board for years, probably almost a decade ago, and we were getting it 10 years even before that. It comes like paper. Yeah.
Okay.
Do I have a motion on that?
Sure, I'll make a motion to accept the wage salary rate adjustment request for Jerry, the Director of COA, to 3234 effective August 27th, 2025.
Second. Motion made, motion seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Sean. And also, Sean, thank
Thank
you
you,
for
Sean.
all you do for the COA down
I'm
there
happy to
too.
do it.
It
Thank
is
you very much.
appreciated.
Yes, and that paperwork's
Yeah.
for all you look, and it has all the data, the new job description.
Nice.
Our next topic will be a meeting with our opiate settlement task force. I'd like to ask you guys to come up in front, have a seat, and then also, mention your names and mention to the town the stuff you've been working on, a little history, and it's all yours. It's all yours.
Everyone,
I'm Tim. I'm on the opioid settlement task force committee. I'm the chair. And
Lynn Harlow, just a member.
Liz Kubler.
so we have a few of this. So you should have gotten the packets with more detailed information, but we just have a little presentation. Will be really quick. So next slide, please. So basically, we're just going to talk about the opioid abatement funds, and then what are we? What is the settlement funding task force? We're going to go over the survey that we developed, and also the results, and the acceptable use of funds and the survey categories per the abatement agreements. And then we'll go over the goals and summary recommendations that our group came up with. Next slide, please. Okay. So regarding the opiate abatement funds, Massachusetts joined a nationwide lawsuit against opioid manufacturers, distributors, and pharmacies, as well as marketers to hold them accountable in their role for the opioid crisis. And the lawsuit awarded Massachusetts over $900 million in settlement funds, which is great. The Commonwealth made the decision for 40% of these settlement funds to be allocated to cities and towns. And a few years ago in 2022, Hatfield began receiving funds from the Commonwealth as part of the agreement. Next slide, please. Sorry, previous slide. So these funds can be used by municipalities for a variety of things. So prevention, harm, reduction, treatment, recovery support from opioid addiction in accordance with the Massachusetts abatement terms, which we referenced in the packet if you want more information on that. And then fund use must reflect the input of the community, which is where we come in, and us members of the task force, and especially people who have had personal experience with opioid crisis, and help address disparities in existing services, address mental health conditions, and leverage existing state programs. Okay, so what is the funding task force? So group of community members representing Hatfield, and we were created to help determine how to use the funds, which is one of the recommendations for how to allocate the funds. Develop and administer a survey for community support, community input, and then prioritize categories for acceptable use of funds, and then develop strategies for implementation. So we developed a survey, which we reviewed extensively. We had, monthly meetings, and we conducted it via SurveyMonkey from March 26th to May 26th, and we had it as visible as we could. So it was on the town website. There were QR code links on posters at the Smith Academy School, the town meeting, local stores, post offices, both post offices, Hatfield Library. And we had 131 responses, which was great. And so we weren't sure what to expect, but that was a good number. And the respondents aged from 18 to 75 plus. So we got a good sample size with regards to age. And so this right here is, the respondents were asked if any of the following statements were true and to select all statements that apply. Can you do one more click? So we pointed out these three sections because it's interesting. So the first two arrows, it talks about, the question was, I have lost a family member or loved one to opioid addiction overdose, and I have lost a family member or loved one, or I have a family member or loved one in recovery. I thought it was very telling that 40% of respondents had, answered, yes to these questions. And specifically the first arrow, there's 20 residents that had someone who, passed away from opioid addiction overdose. And this is something that I didn't know about. And, it's not something people are posting on social media, and it's just something that you don't really, talk about. It's not, it's kind of taboo. And so I thought it was very helpful that people were able to kind of, express and, talk about it in this way. And
Or it says that we have 22 people or families that are currently struggling with this right now.
Right.
Which this is what, through the survey, one of our goals is to try to help these families too.
Exactly. And Lynn did a
wonderful job on this. She was amazing. She did a lot of the heavy lifting on this. So thank you. And yeah, so we thought this was, some of the results were pretty striking. Go to the next one. So, we're not going to go into every individual category, but these were the 7 categories that were the acceptable use of funds. So we had opioid use disorder, support people in treatment and recovery, connections to care, harm reduction, address needs of criminal justice involved persons, support pregnant or parenting women and their families, and prevent misuse of opioids and implement prevention education. Next one. So from the 7 categories above, survey respondents were asked to select their top 3 priorities for the opioid settlement funds. And the top, as you can see there, prevent misuse of opioids and education was the most popular, which is great. And then connections to care was the second most popular at 50%. And coming in third was support people in treatment and recovery. Anything else you want to say on that?
No, I think we're just going to focus on the top 2 for now.
Right, top 2. So, all right, next slide. So, what was our goals after going through this process? Initially it was to reflect the Hatfield community's wishes, desires for how this money should be spent, which is the initial intention. So, we felt like we got a pretty good sample size. Meet the state opioid settlement requirements, create information and education so that as to lessen opportunities for drug use addiction in Hatfield, and also create support for individuals and families currently experience opioid misuse. And we've gotten this through some of the survey responses and some other communications, but this is, there is no additional funding that the town needs to provide. This is not coming out of taxpayers' money. This is already allocated money for Hatfield. So here's our summary recommendation. So the top priorities based on community input. So like Lynn mentioned, it's prevent misuse of opioids and implement prevention education and connections to care. So with the first category, event opportunities to involve and educate community. We're working on some now, I think, but we'll save the details. Training and awareness of, knowing what you're putting in your body. Mike DeKoschik, the police chief, who's also on the committee, talked about how successful DARE was previously and having some derivative of that, or something that could be successful. Narcan training, which is the reversal agent for opioid overdose, with CPR and first aid. And then we were thinking about maybe surveying students at some point down the road, which we hadn't done this time. And then with regards to connection to care, form support groups for individuals and families. So even if they just want to come and just not even talk about opioids or, their loved one that's, involved in that, and just kind of form a community, a connection with someone. Adult information, education on opioids, recognize signs of addiction and connections to available resources. So I think that's about it.
Yeah, I would just say that not only were these based on the community's top priorities, but a lot of the comments in the end of the surveys, they really wanted us to focus on education and early education, probably in the schools, and getting maybe to households and elderly. They may have medication or opioids in their cabinets at home or something that teenagers, children could get access to, and maybe get information out there so people are aware of what is in their homes, and then the education in the schools.
So that could be something like through the COA, whenever they have a group meeting or something, you could have something in the council, that's what we're talking about here, and things of that nature. In the school, could the school be something like an inspirational speaker, or something that talks about drugs, to come in and do a thing? I don't know. I know they have a lot of different resources out there, but.
Jean Hobby's also on our committee, the school nurse, so
Okay.
yeah, she's been very helpful in that.
Yeah, we were working on some of those options, which thankfully we have a few in the pipeline, which is nice. So
I know the schools, what you can have and you can't have nowadays is sort of issues sometimes of what's allowed and what's not allowed, I guess.
Yeah, setting up something like a drug take back day with the coordination with both police and fire, I think would be probably pretty successful, a little bit of education prior to and get it out to the schools and COA and stuff like that. I think would be a good avenue.
Mike even mentioned maybe a fair of that safety type theme going with it, yeah.
Yeah, we could even expand it beyond Hatfield, maybe.
Exactly.
possibly, so.
Yeah. Sounds great.
I think, Andrew, do we have to, is it a formal, just okay by the select board that we can proceed with this? Is that what we need?
I think the next step would be to come with more of a rough outline of a budget, or at least an idea of maybe how we would want to spend funds in a first year, first 2 years. And I think just bringing that to the select board so they can more formally sign off on an idea of roughly where funds would be spent. Since the select board is still the authority that's in charge of how the funds are spent. But as long as you roughly agree with this idea of how they're planning to proceed, then we're in good shape. And then they'll bring in more of a fleshed out budget at some point.
Do we have a rough idea of how much funds were allocated to Hatfield?
Yeah, so it'll be about over $125,000 that arrives over the next 10 years. There's an additional settlement that I was authorized by the board to sign at our last meeting. That adds around $25,000. Now we're talking around $150,000 over the next 10 to 15 years. By the end of this next fiscal year, we'll have over $50,000 in the bank ready to use. So the way I've kind of framed it for the board is, for the task force is, what could we do with funding around $10,000 a year to do something for the next 10 years to do something to make a real big difference here? Because it's more than that. They can use more money in the first few years, but if you think about sustainability of a program, you're talking around $10,000 to $15,000 a year for the next 10 years.
That's great.
Well, I mean, you guys have had the surveys, and I'm assuming you might have had discussion on where to target some of this money for, or what you can do. So I'm assuming will be producing some recommendations of how to use the funds that we can sort of agree with you on or not, or.
And this slide's kind of your sneak peek and I think we'll have more detail coming, but this is kind of the outline of things that
Can
could
we
make
get the
sense.
plans fleshed out a little bit more? We'll have like more of an itemized list, like Andrew was mentioning, like, okay, how much is it going to cost for this event? And is this event going to be recurrent? And things like that, so.
Great. That's good. Well, thank you for all your work on this.
Yeah, thanks for doing all that. That's
Thank you.
More to come.
very great.
I mean, it's a work in progress. I do appreciate all the work your committee has done. I think it's very important, especially to the town and this community. And I want to thank you for all the time you've put in on this. And I hope you continue to come up with recommendations for us, because I consider you more of an expert on this than myself. So I hope you can continue to work on that.
We will.
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you for caring.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, topic 6. DPC engineering service proposal for MS4 permit compliance project. I think as far as this particular item, previously we sort of had approved it, but we didn't get the funding approved at town meeting, and we had to do it a second time. Was this the one that we did a second time?
The second time is actually regarding the asset management project for the stormwater.
Okay, so this is a different. Marlo wants to speak on this or not?
I'm happy to start on this
Okay,
one. Just
yeah.
this is something that I've been covering and going to pass along to Marlo once the work gets started. So this was approved at the town meeting, a $90,000 allocation from free cash. You'll see that the total amount of the project is $120,000. That's marked down from north of I think 170,000 based on some overlap with the asset management project. So some of the steps in here, you might say, wait a second, aren't we doing this with the stormwater asset management project? And you'd be correct. So anything that's kind of in both projects, they've discounted the price of that. We've already paid for it. We're already doing it.
Yeah.
So This is separate from that asset management, and this is more about the implementation of the state's regulations on MS4. Municipal small sewer, no, I shouldn't have committed to that, small sewer, separate storm sewer systems. So there's a number of regulations that we are not yet in compliance with, and that's spelled out here in the scope of things that we need to be doing. There's a set of policies that we need to adopt by the planning board that catches up with the bylaw that was passed at town meeting earlier this year. And DPC would be helping us through this process. So as I said, we've already allocated the money towards this, $90,000 from town meeting, and then an additional $30,000 that's built into our budget for professional services. So this is already funded. This is something that I feel like the town has been made aware of through the presentation at town meeting and through just other talk about these regulations. So we should be good to go, but because of the size of the contract, I thought it made sense to bring to this board for their sign off.
Okay, so yeah, so it's sort of, that's right, because this is sort of like we're doing one and we got to do another one to satisfy the state, even though we're doing an asset management already, so.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the
But
kind of thing that you've seen towns across the state decide to hire more engineers, build out a stronger engineering department because there's so much more work that has to be done in MS4. I think in the future, we'd like to see if there's a way to bring this program in-house. I think having Marlo on board is going to be really helpful because he's dealt with things like this before, which is great, and he's at least comfortable overseeing it. But we're happy to have DPC as good partners on this, and we know they do good work. So this is it's the start, and then hopefully in the future we can find ways to instead bring this work in-house. But for now, we have some catch up to do, and I think DPC will be helpful in that.
Just more regulations for us, that's all.
Yeah.
A question I did have on this, is this going to be created into like a GIS overlay or layer for us to be able to use in the future?
I would think anything that we get in, say, like the asset management plan, like those are all things that we should have possession of, like any of the mapping.
Is that part of like actually, it says that they're going to update, redefine, and map it, but it doesn't say anything about it being created into like a GIS file for us to be able to.
Well, I should check the
add.
scope of work of the asset management because I think it's more likely that it's in there. But I can find out that answer and get
that'd be
that back to you because that's important that we own that.
It's a make or break, but it is important
You gotta own it.
to include.
Fairly simple to do.
Yeah,
The data is there.
right. It's just whether or not we have to spend the time in-house to enter that data and put it together, or if it's part of this price and package, so.
I will ask.
Again, I don't think it's a make or break, but it's something that we should have outlined whether or not.
It's a very useful question. Yeah, we gotta make sure we have the answer to that.
Any more questions on this?
Nope.
I'll make a motion to approve the signing of the DPC Engineering Services proposal for MS4 permit compliance project.
Second?
Motion made, motion seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Topic 7 will be to accept a grant from Commonwealth of Mass for ditch mapping. As you're probably aware, part of the comprehensive plan was to try to find a way to start cleaning up our ditches because a lot of ditches are overgrown. They were all used. The farmers used to burn them out, clean them out, but all that's gone away. So this grant, I believe, you can fill me in, is to give us a understanding of our ditches and what kind of shape they're in and help us down the road to try to figure out a way to get them fixed.
Yeah, that's an excellent summary. So this is great news that we've received a massive municipal vulnerability plan action plan grant from the state. This is for $179,000, and it's a joint project between towns of Hatfield and Hadley. We have similar situations here. We're both trying to work in these agricultural grants and better understand the mapping of them, the ownership, our regulations on them, everything else. So this project would allow us to hire a consultant to advance this project. It does need to be done somewhat quickly. The due date here is by the end of next fiscal year. So fortunately, we've had good conversations with consultants. We should be ready to get right into action and move this project ahead quickly. So we're looking for formal acceptance of this grant by the select board, and the select board needs to approve all grants that we receive. And of course, if there's any questions about it, happy to take them, but this is this is a big project that we're excited to move forward on and take a bite out of that comprehensive plan, as you mentioned.
Questions?
No.
Questions?
No, it's good.
I will say, though, that from the conservation end of things, this is something that has been on Conservation Commission's radar for a very long time. So it's good that we're moving forward with this, and it allows for potential funding sources in the future to be able to do some mitigation and some other work. So it's the groundwork for moving forward. So all good stuff.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept the grant from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts for
Motion
ditch
made,
mapping.
motion seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Any discussion? No, all in favor? Okay, so be it. Motion carries. Okay. Next, we have presentation on updated FEMA flood maps.
Yeah.
Indeed, we do. So this is, you have a lot of documentation in front of you, and I've set up a page on the select board section of the website as well, just to post some of this information, because there's a lot going on here. This is a long process. We're in the dead middle of it, I would say, maybe at the beginning of the end of this process from FEMA flood mapping updates. So I sketched out the process on the website. The information's there. FEMA has a number of different pages on this. Some of them are very helpful, some of them are more confusing, but it's just a very long process. But basically, where we are now is we've received the preliminary new flood maps. And these flood maps have not been updated since 1980. So these new maps would capture a lot more information. They're based on new hydrology, new hydraulics, new infrastructure that's been put in, as well as looking at the impacts of climate change and sea level rise and river rise and everything else that FEMA and everyone have their eyes on. So these maps are not the easiest to view in the format that I've shared them with you tonight. FEMA sent them to us, sent a letter addressed to, I don't know who Edward Jaworski is, but they sent a letter to him, FEMA. But I think they meant Edmund here. But that letter spells out where we are in the process. And we should be receiving communication from FEMA at some point in the next 2 months that sets up a coordination meeting. And at that meeting, they'll go over more of the detailed maps with us. And that kicks off a 90-day appeal process. That appeal process is when we really need to be taking these maps to the public and getting any input from folks who are concerned that something in the maps is scientifically incorrect. We're in a 30-day appeal process. Sorry, not an appeal process. We're in a 30-day review process right now that began when they sent this letter to us. Fortunately, that process is really just to look at, are there any streets labeled incorrectly in the maps? Are there any bodies of water that are labeled incorrectly? Are there any just map issues? And the maps have been shared with us, so they're in your packet. I posted a link to the maps on the website. So I'd say at some point, you, the public, take a look at those maps, see if you see any errors like that, locational errors. Those can be reported. There will be more time for all of this feedback. But this is a really useful moment just to check in on how this process works so that we're all aware of it. These maps do set the foundation for some insurance rates and other things in the future. They won't immediately change anything. There's a lot of different insurance and other mechanisms already in place, but they are important to make sure that they're correct. And they do show changes in where our high hazard flood zones are. So that's kind of my long-winded introduction. Happy to take any questions and any suggestions on how we move forward with this process. But you've got the maps in front of you, and we can go from there.
Yeah, I mean, the maps in front of me show me maps from all over the place, not just Hatfield,
Yeah.
which makes it a little bit more difficult to go through all the information when I'm reading about stuff in other towns, and it's included in here, but
Yep.
that's the way they set it up. There's
There's a number of tools that they have on their website. Unfortunately, not all of them work. One of them is designed to show you just the changes. They have like a little slider tool. If you move it one direction, you get the full map from 1980. You move it the other side, you get the map from now. That should be updated in the next couple of weeks, so that it actually has the new maps on there. It only has the old ones right now. They have another tool where you can put in any point and it will show you the old map and the new map and compare them side by side. But only the new map is working there. The old map isn't working. So they've got some really great tools that they're trying to use for the public that they're not quite there yet, but hopefully
Okay,
they
so
will be
we're
soon.
at the point where we just take a look at the maps to see if the streets are all named correctly. And then the next process is when we get notified from them, we have a 90-day window to do a presentation or something, right? I mean,
That's correct.
basically,
And,
yeah.
and at some point, so after the appeal process, once that closes, then there's a 7 to 10 month period in which they come back to us with the final maps. And in that time, we also, if there's any changes in our maps, which we believe there will be, those need to be accepted at town meeting if there's any bylaws or anything they're attached to. So for instance, we have a floodplain bylaw, and that references the FEMA maps. We'll have to accept them with the new maps. So ideally, that'll be ready for next May's town meeting, 2026. If for some reason the process lasts longer, then we'll have to look at either a special or May 2027. So we'll just have our eye on that.
Okay. So this is just a update for tonight on this topic.
No votes needed tonight.
Okay. Any more questions?
Nope. No.
Okay, we'll move to topic 9, town hall hours.
Yes. So we piloted summer hours starting in June of this year. They've been received well, and our staff are enjoying the 7:30 to 4:30 hours Monday through Thursday and 8 to 12 on Fridays. It seems like it's serving the public well. So we are asking the board about their interest in keeping those hours moving in the same direction for the future. So continue with the 7:30 to 4:30 Monday through Thursday, 8 to 12 on Fridays. It seems to be working well.
I don't have a problem with that. Do you guys have any?
No, I think this is
Issues?
great. Everybody's happy with it. What else could you ask for?
If we get more feedback from the public about issues, then we'll look at changing it. But for now, that seems to be working.
Since those hours were previously voted in, I guess we don't need to make a motion because we're just continuing the hours or.
I don't have the motion in front of me. It's possible that we voted on it provisionally.
Right.
So maybe if we want to vote on it moving forward, just in case that the vote was to authorize it only until a certain date in September.
Okay.
I can make a motion. I'll make a motion to change the town hall's regular operating hours to 7:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Monday through Thursday and 8 a.m. till 12 p.m. on Fridays until further notice.
Motion made,
Second.
motion seconded. Any discussion?
No discussion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Okay, topic 10, I see our chair Stephanie is here and we're going to get into the planning board request for zoning change.
Hello.
Thank you for coming this evening.
Yes, thank you. It's my understanding, Andrew, correct me if I'm wrong, around the process for this. This is more like courtesy kind of conversation and heads up to the public as well around how this goes.
Under MGL, Chapter 48, Section 5, a zoning change can begin with a planning board or with an individual or someone else, but then it needs to be brought to the select board. They're informed of it, and then within 14 days, they shall bring that to, refer it back to the planning board for study, essentially. So what you have in front of you tonight is the proposed change, and then Stephanie can discuss it more. But then what you'd be doing tonight is referring that to the planning board for study and then a public hearing. And the planning board has already scheduled that public hearing, which is just a good thing to get more advance notice out.
So we need a motion before the discussion?
Nope, I think it's, Stephanie can explain it all to you, and then you can, your motion when it's done.
So Stephanie Slish, Chair of the Planning Board. We have a proposed hearing, just to get that out for the public too, on this potential change next Wednesday, September 17th at 7 p.m. at the Hatfield Elementary School. The reasoning kind of behind this zoning change, it was outlined in the a land use master plan recommendations from 2012. It was reemphasized again at the comprehensive plan. And then we have we have a study underway with the Pioneer Valley Planning Commission looking at our zoning. And this is also highlighted there. Just like the long-term plan and goal is to update like our zoning map and bylaws in their entirety. And this is just phase one, and was, one of the things that was brought up multiple times from the professionals and through the studies, and then also, like I said, action in the comprehensive plan. So what we are proposing is rezoning approximately 40 parcels on our zoning map. Those are what we're calling like zoning islands or zoning inconsistencies. We've notified abutters, we've notified the landowners, which according to council goes above and beyond what, the notice, sending those notices. So we, want to make sure that the public is informed that we're doing this. When it comes to zoning map changes, we only have to just technically post in the newspaper and come to you all, but we've also sent notified notices to the butters with a FAQ. That FAQ is also available on the town website for anyone that is interested in looking at that as well, but kind of outlining what this means. So when I say zoning island, like we're going to give a full presentation next week, so I don't really want to like dive into this too much, but essentially what is doing is taking parcels that arguably should have been zoned pre-existing non-conforming uses when we came out with this map in the early 2000-ish time, and making that correction, and so that it ends up being more consistent use of the neighborhood of those parcels. This is, again, like I said, something that has come up multiple times in multiple studies over the years. No one's really pursued it, and so this is just the first step in updating our map. And doing so, with the long-term plans of the town in mind. So, like I said, next week, Wednesday, the 17th, 7 o'clock, Hatfield Elementary School. We're anticipating a good number of people there. That's why we're having it at the Hatfield Elementary School, because this impacts 40 landowners plus abutters in the neighborhoods that all of these parcels are part of.
What is the complete process? I mean, you have your meeting, we have our motion.
Thank you for asking that. Yes, so this is kind of like the formal process here. Then we would have this special hearing that would happen next week. In that hearing, you can come, we have, the way that hearings are set up, you have to speak either for or against the project. That's just the way it's set up. So we entertain comments from the public. If you can't make it, please feel free to reach out to our town planner, Bella Yeager, who will be taking comments, and we will enter them into the record and reiterate those at the meeting as well. From there, the board decides to recommend it or not, to then go to a special town meeting or a town meeting if it was, I think we have within 6 months to enact on it after it's passed. There's possibility at the meeting next week, we would continue the hearing if there's questions that we want to find, or we can make a determination that night. But then that would be the next step of bringing it, getting the input from the town, and the butters and landowners and anyone else who's interested in attending, and then what it means, and then we would decide whether or not to move it towards a warrant article.
Ultimately, though, the town helps make that decision, and the landowners, if they don't want it changed, can protest it or
For sure.
appeal it or whatever.
I know change is hard, and especially when and land is personal, and I get that. But it's our job as a planning board, your job, select, it's all of our jobs as elected officials to be thinking about the town, and like making those steps towards the comprehensive plan. I mean, there's different ways we could approach it, but this is the way that we're proposing going forward with it in like a phased approach. So.
Well, I can understand the reasons behind this, because if I recall years ago, a lot of a lot of the folks will say, what do you want your land? And some people would say, I want a business, I want an industry. And the town basically said, okay. And it created a lot of spot zoning all over the place. It didn't centralize things as different areas, except for the town center here. So, and it's been sitting like that. I do appreciate your board taking the initiative to look at this and try to bring it back to something that's more effective for the town, I guess, or makes more sense for the town.
Yeah, and thank you. Yeah, and I definitely recommend people come next week because there'll be maps and visuals and things because, yeah.
So I have actually quite a fair amount to say about this. I personally think that this was quite rushed, and there was a much better approach that it could have been taken to this. For a couple of reasons, one of which being that if we're essentially looking to minimize some of our commercial developed land in town, and we have yet to put any thought into where we are going to help recreate that commercial development. Myself and Steph both sat on the comprehensive plan, and one of the major topics that was discussed was making sure that the Route 5 corridor was zoned properly for that future development. And here, there's a few different parcels that are within that corridor that we're looking to take out of business and put back, into rural residential, which until we identify where the areas we want to develop are, makes no sense. We're putting the cart in front of the horse. There's also numerous properties on this map that are some of the legacy businesses in town that have been operating here far longer than probably anybody in this room has lived in this town. And I think we owe them the respect and the due diligence to take a look at these parcels, parcel by parcel. It would be my opinion that a survey should have went out to these parcel owners and asked if something of this nature was something that they felt comfortable with. And you might got some responses back that said, yeah, no, I don't care. And then we can go ahead and rezone those as we see fit. But I do know that there are quite a few parcels that are outlined here that are very, very much opposed to this. And I also disagree with some of the zoning that is being proposed as changes. There's also some errors on this sheet for what the mapping is for the town's website currently has as the zoning maps. So from a town's perspective, the data that we're portraying on our own website isn't actually accurate to what the tax cards are, which is a pretty big problem for anyone who wants to do research about this. The other portion that I will say is that I think it's our duty as a select board to really review stuff like this and also protect the town from any future litigation. And I have been approached by numerous people who are very unhappy with this due to the fact that it ultimately will reduce their property values and the other businesses that they'd have the opportunity to sell their parcel to in the future, ultimately making their parcel worth less money and then hurting taxation because of that. I know a lot of people have invested in some of these properties because they were zoned as business. And it's part of their financial plan, both for the business that they're operating, but also for their retirement in the future. And when they plan to sell these parcels off and who they leave them to in terms of their children and stuff like that. And all of this affects all of that planning. And, you know, if it does affect the pricing of these lots, then whether they have equity lines on them, all of that gets affected based off of valuations of it. So.
Respectfully, I'm not going to get into this back and forth. I think at this meeting, I think it's appropriate to encourage you to come to the next meeting if you have opinions and thoughts on this, because I think some of the things that you said are more fear tactic-y than not. And I think and I agree that we as a board, elected officials should hear our constituents, and I would encourage them to come to the meeting and give those thoughts to us. I also think as elected officials, and as chair of the planning board, I'm very conscious of creating situations that, like, I'm all about trying to reduce our risk when it comes to legal litigation. And this is one of the reasons why we are moving forward with something like this. So we are not putting, I think, reducing property values to whom, I think is a question, because some of the people with rezoning this could impact property values in a different way. We are not putting anyone out of business. I think that's super important to say in this before next week, is like, this would be taking parcels and rezoning them. If there's a current use on the parcel, that use will not be, like, that use can continue. You can even sell the parcel and that use can still continue. And it would just it would be changing what's then allowed if, like, they wanted to change the use drastically to a heavier use for most of the parcels, I believe, not all of them.
Unless the parcel sits vacant for 2 years.
Correct. That is the legal standing of a pre-existing non-conforming use. There's lots of pre-existing non-conforming use properties and with businesses operating on them in this town that are longstanding families also. So like I said, I don't know if this is the avenue for us to be getting to, like, have this conversation. I think it's also, like, should be for the record, but, like, I'm also open to going.
I guess I have an opinion question then. So a property such as Helena Chemical, right, that it's a warehousing facility, correct?
Yeah, it depends. I'd have to look at the table of use or what their.
Right, but
permanent-
for
I
all
mean-
intents and purposes, it's a warehousing facility.
I mean,
So let's say
depends
this-
on how we have it zoned and have issued the special permit. So I don't want to specifically say yes or no to that.
Okay,
Depends
so
on that.
I think most people know the property that I'm referencing. If this, let's say, property was sold, sat vacant for 2 years, it then reverts back to rural residential?
Whatever, that's the presumed zoning changes would be, yes.
So if that was to
But
revert back to
also-
rural
Or go
residential,
for a special permit.
Or it can go through a special permit process. So the
Right.
board has leeway to, like, if someone wants to appeal, like, come to us and be like, oh, we want to continue the pre-existing use, we would allow that. We would likely allow that given the history of the parcel. But legally, what a pre-existing non-conforming use is.
but what are you going to do with that parcel as a rural residential parcel? If it went back to rural residential, what could you possibly ever do with that parcel?
I understand how someone would want to, like, glob onto, like, individual parcels. I get that. And it's also our job to think about the neighborhood, and the neighborhood is a residential neighborhood. And so that's the whole point of rezoning, is to make the uses consistent with what is in what matches the neighborhood.
I mean, you have commercial and industrially zoned properties, both to the east and the west of it.
You mean directly abutting?
Not directly abutting, but
In
within,
other areas.
within 3 parcels of it.
And it could stay that use as a pre-existing non-conforming use with the rezone.
I just think it'd be more appropriate for the landowner to be able to make that decision rather
So
than it
that
being
goes-
blanket.
That goes to the whole, I know we talk about legal risk here. When legal, like, I know we have to make decisions that are we can't be making decisions based on certain landowners' property values. Legally, we cannot be making decisions like that. We need to be making decisions that are best interest of the town, and also reducing, like, the planning board piece of that. And so I want to, like, underscore that I understand that there's constituents that are reaching out to you and me about that, but that is something that, like, we legally shouldn't be making our sole determination and decision on.
But you don't have to make a decision based off of individual people's feelings off of their property value. It's more of an opinion whether or not they have a problem with it changing.
Right.
If someone wants to continue to operate their business out of it, not have to continue to jump through hoops, or they want to sell the parcel to their daughter if an owner was to pass away or something like that, or however they want to go through the legal process of it, that sale or transfer of a deed shouldn't trigger all this 2-year stopwatch for people to have to be able to either get a new business to rent it or whatnot. It just doesn't seem right.
There are currently plenty of pre-existing non-conforming uses that operate in this town.
I mean, basically this, you make a lot of valid points. Basically, this hearing is determining whether you guys are moving forward with this or not, right?
Right, and
Because you're-
again, it would have to go to the special town meeting, the town would have, townspeople could come, it needs 2/3 majority to vote, so it's something that, there's lots of steps in this process. I understand that there might have been some surprise from landowners who received this. This has been on our agenda as a planning board, rezoning especially certain parcels on Elm Street corridor for at least 6 months. So this is, and again, was reiterated in 3 different not recent, 2012 is when this first came up as something that we should address, and nobody has addressed it yet. So I understand that it can be seem jarring, but also in the timeline of government, it's been a while. So I appreciate it. There's many different ways that we could have approached it. Come on the planning board, Luke. Come help us make these decisions in a way that.
I also say though that the conversation that was had at the comprehensive plan when we developed the plan was that we were going to look into the spot zoning and determine which parcels needed to be re-spot zoned, not just blanket going through the entire
Legally,
town.
that is the safer way to do that, is to do the entire town, is to do it all at once, as opposed to picking and choosing, because then you're paying favorites and talking about.
Again, a survey and asking the people could have eliminated a lot of this too.
We're reinforcing what the comprehensive plan says. We looked at a map and it's very obvious which ones are the zoning islands here. We can go back and forth about it. I encourage everyone to come next week. It'll be bring your popcorn next week on the 17th at the 7 o'clock at the elementary school, where we'll have a further presentation on this. And again, it has to go to town meeting too, so.
I'm sure a lot of your ideas will be coming forward at that meeting, and your thoughts about this will be what they want to hear, because maybe this has become an important meeting that people can voice their opinions, and it may give the planning board some insight to say, well, maybe we shouldn't be doing this or that, right?
Right, and it'll also inform the next, like I said, this is a phased approach. The next phase is looking at where we would like to see more commercial development, industrial development, that kind of thing in this. So that is the next phase, and then the following phase would be up to, there's different ways to approach it, and this is the way that we've chosen, and lesson learned on some of this too with the feedback, so.
What's the temperature amongst the planning board? Is everyone in favor of this? Was everyone there when this was decided?
When this was discussed, everyone yes, everyone was aware that this was going to be talked about. I don't know when it was approved. That'll be next week, whether that's approved or not.
Okay, we have one question from the back.
It's more of a statement than a question. I think this is a solution without a problem.
I would say all of our special hearings that we've had recently and are issues with neighborhood issues that have come to our attention have a lot of them have been around these different parcels. So again, this is a thing that has been highlighted as something to fix, and so we are prioritizing doing so.
I'll allow one more.
Specifically, speaking of 101 and 103 Elm Street, I spoke with the owners, and they're willing to pursue developing it into Section 8, low income, moderate income, and workforce housing. There's 12 total acres. And that would be about 144 to 168 units with a 120-day decision period. So after this meeting, groundbreaking could be January 21st.
And people have a right to do what they would like to with their land based on its zoning, so.
Anyways,
So it might be a good opportunity.
Yeah.
some of this discussion is better set at the hearing on the
Right, so that it could be on the
17th.
record, right,
That'd be a
for
better place for it, I guess.
Yep.
So I'm going to move on this motion. So we have a motion on this. Do we need a motion?
Sure, I'll make a motion to refer the proposed zoning change to the planning board for a public hearing on Wednesday, the 17th. at 7 PM at the Hatfield Elementary School.
I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
I'm in favor of it.
Aye.
Are you opposed?
I am.
Okay. So we have one opposition and 2 forward, so motion carries. Any discussion? Motion carries. It's noted, 2 yeses, 1 no. Okay, topic 11. Thank you, Stephanie. Topic 11, plan for town facilities. Now, I do want to say something. I'm going to back up a little bit. Originally, we had talked over the years about finding a place for our archives. Also, under the comprehensive plan, moving emergency services out of the floodplain. Also, the fire department was looking for possibly more space in the future. And there was a 4th thing in town that we've been discussing is a place for pickleball court. Now, when Marlo came on board, I asked him, what can we do with this metal building? Unfortunately, we had voted as a town to have a salt and shed facility, and the previous director got us a metal building that's sitting up there unfinished. So after discussion with Marlo, and Marlo, I believe, talked to the police chief, if we take the existing building and frame it for 2 stories, we could put the archives upstairs, which is like all your birth certificates and important papers.
Vital records versus archives,
Yeah.
just in case there's a
Right.
confusion among historic archives.
Yeah. So the archives upstairs, downstairs, we could have the police station and emergency services, which moves it out of the floodplain. By moving the police department up there, we now have provided more space in case the fire department needs to expand. And I'm being told that there might be enough of space for the pickleball court. Previously, I was against the pickleball court going up there if it was a DPW facility, but if it becomes the police station and emergency command center, then that sort of makes sense. So we could actually kill 4 birds with 1 stone, in my thought, but I want to open it up for discussion, whoever wants to comment on the idea. Also, on that building on the north, south, east side, you could actually put in 3 garage doors for 3 cruisers. So you can get all this stuff done. Of course, there'll be a cost to do that, but it'll be far cheaper than building a new building at this time, because we already have it halfway done. So I don't know how my colleagues feel about this, but these are some things I was thinking about after talking to Marlo and Andrew and the police chief.
So last Tuesday, I believe, myself, Andrew, Chief DeKoschak, and Marlo met on the site, and we kind of walked through some of the ideas that were being proposed. And they all seem like that they're very viable. By moving the police station up to Elm Court, like you had mentioned, it gets it out of the floodplain. And then the idea would be to repurpose what is the existing police station into having some overnight quarters and stuff for folks who are staying over and working the eve shifts on the fire department, as well as opening up a couple other bays for storage and such, so we can get some of the fire department storage can come out of where the COA parks their vans and such. So like you said, it's checking off multiple boxes. We had asked Chief DeKoschak and Marlo were going to look at trying to get some rough designs put together, as well as costs associated with those designs and what would be the best layout, both for the police department's input as well as for the vital records storage in the second floor. As well, and then, there'd have to be some paving and stuff. And one of the questions that we had discussed was how would this affect like police response times and stuff throughout town by moving it towards an outskirt of the town. And Chief DeKoschak can address that in the future, but very much assured us, since most of the time the police officers are on shift patrolling throughout the town. If they could be patrolling on Depot Road, and if the emergency's on Elm Street, it's the same amount of response anyway. So that portion isn't something to be too concerned about. But it really would be a great use for the space. And the other portion of it would be developing a plan for moving forward for the rest of that development and build out of that lot. So it's a step in the right direction for sure.
That's a good idea, but we have to figure out, like you said, the logistics of how much it's going to cost and
Right.
like to have the building open and what it would take to convert this to whatever it is that they want to do with this.
Yeah, I think it would all be,
kind of
sounds
thing.
like it would all be developed under either one plan or one phased plan. So that way there wasn't a stagnant use of the space over here. Everything would be phased, but we need to figure out, is this a $500,000 build out or is this a $1.5 million build out? So,
Right, I mean, well, right now, it'd be cheaper than building a building.
absolutely.
And it would, I mean, the other way, we need multiple spaces in different locations to accommodate everything, and we would have to build out the fire department, which we don't have to at this time. Maybe 20, 30 years from now, but it does give us more time over the years to get some of the things done while we're waiting for the future to come, in a way. So I think it's a good idea. So what I'm hearing, our next step would looking for prices and stuff. So do either of you have any issues with trying to move forward on this to get costs or prices or to try to find out if this will work?
I think it's a good idea to look into that building. The only reason I don't really like doing the stuff here with the fire department is because I hate to put more money into that thing. That shouldn't be a permanent building. That's a temporary building. I'd like to get them stuff. I know it's far out, but I hate putting money into that knowing that we need to get out of there anyhow. The fire department needs to go somewhere else anyhow.
We had discussed actually a plan for that. So the idea would be to take what is the current police station and use it to build out for a couple bunk rooms as well as some additional internal storage. And then moving forward in the future, that's like if the fire department ultimately got moved to another location, that current area, the apparatus space could be turned into like a public rec center or something like that. And then the office space and internal spaces could either become more COA space or it could become like more of a community room.
But again, that's just sinking more money into just changing what we would be changing it into now into what we want it in the future.
Well, the interesting part at the fire department currently is that the bathrooms and the showers are already built. They're already there.
Yeah.
So you're talking about taking office space and adding in a door essentially, because you could take like the current existing police chief's office and use that as a bunk room, and you're adding in a bed essentially. And the other room that is their current storage room would stay as storage. The processing room, again, that could be very, very easily outfitted to be an additional, whether it's a bunk room or something of that nature. So without really having to do any sort of major construction, you're cutting in a door essentially.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah.
I mean, if we have a small committee, we could move forward on this. Maybe, like Marlo and one of us and maybe the police chief, just to put a plan together just to look at or cost.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just sitting here listening to this, I have a property at 197 Straits Road whose zoning is about to change. With a 20,000 square foot building on it. You might be interested in, out of the floodplain.
Well, I mean,
20 acres.
if we form a committee, we could actually have them look at that also, right?
And
what
I
the
might
costs
be willing to trade the fire station for it. even swap.
So we, maybe a small committee?
Yeah, I think,
I don't know if either one of you would like to be on the committee?
I will if neither
You're
one. of
already,
you.
yeah, it seems like you know what's going on a
Yeah.
lot better than I do already.
I would say both police and fire chief should be involved, seeing as how the ultimate plan
Okay.
kind of impacts them. Marlo, myself, and maybe someone, if we're going to do the pickleball court, maybe someone from, I don't know if that would be open space or recreation committee, or
I don't know.
or do
I
we not
mean,
need that?
It's, right now, the pickleball court is finding a location, so.
Okay, all right. So maybe those four for now, and
So-
we can come up with a plan and then come back with
Options.
options, and then ultimately it's going to be we're going to need some sort of money appropriated to have a design done.
Yeah, it's a lot, yeah.
Do you want me on it for
I would say,
procurement and
yeah.
everything?
Yep,
Okay.
yeah, and Andrew.
Doesn't matter to me. Okay.
Okay.
That's helpful because I think I wanted this on the agenda tonight to try to think about what the mechanism is, how we start moving these things forward. Because what I keep coming back to is if we move forward on anything, that brings up questions about, well, what about this facility that we might need, or what if we wanted to move this to here, or what if there's a lot of questions that kind of all interlock, and I think you could think about some kind of bigger facility study or some kind of consultant scope. But I think another way to just do it is keep bringing it to these meetings, and you're the body that really has to decide on it. And I think if we just keep this as an agenda item moving
Well,
forward.
the archive
checking in.
has been on there since I've been on the board, and
Yeah.
I know the fire department's brought up the idea of needing, if they were to have living quarters, they would need a trailer, which would be very expensive to purchase, whereas putting a door in is a lot cheaper than the trailer
Yeah.
if you move the police department
Yeah.
up there for now. And then even if down the road you do have a public safety building, which it's not going to happen for a while, at least you got the emergency services out of the floodplain in case something should happen, I guess. And we do get a use out of that building unless it's, besides it just sitting there doing nothing, I guess. But, I mean, if we have the small committee, then they can come up with that option, or as it was mentioned, another building or something else to serve our purposes. I mean, we also have to keep in mind cost effective. I agree with you. I mean, we got the wastewater treatment plant be coming online. That'll be a cost. We've had to increase the water and sewer bills in town. We've had some other increases on electricity. Insurance has been a major increase, trying to figure out how to work that out. I mean, so keeping in mind, if we do spend some money, it's basically spending money because we don't have to spend a lot of money at this time, I guess.
And I think ultimately having a design done that, outlines what is this build out cost,
Right.
Really gives the board and the taxpayers a much better feel on, is this something that's feasible now, or is this a 5-year plan,
Yeah. Well, ultimately, they decide whether they want to spend the money.
Right.
So
Right.
it's up to them, and hopefully we can have you guys, I'm sure, will be able to put something together by the next town meeting in May, so we can do some kind of presentation or give them the option and say, here's a couple options and which way you want to go, right? I guess.
Yeah.
Okay. So do we need a motion for that committee or not? Probably not, right? Do we?
Do you want it to be a formal
I don't
committee?
think
I don't
it
think you have
has
to.
to be.
I
Doesn't
think
have
it's
to be
just kind of a
formal,
task
no.
force. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, we'll move to topic 12. Marlo's here with the DPW report.
Okay, thank you for your time. So following the agenda, if you'd like, we can talk about the appointments first. And then we can go through areas of my report that I sent you all.
Okay.
Appointment for Max Bartlett, a highway crew chief. As I had said in my report, we posted all 3 positions on August 14th. I was immediately receiving applications and resumes for all 3 positions. So just to be clear, it isn't 3 openings in the department, it's technically 2. Max is just being promoted to the new job description that was approved last month. So basically, we're giving up a heavy equipment operator, which is Max's position, which he will fill in as the crew chief at times, to provide that crew chief position, if you will. So we had, I think I had 5 or 6 applications for heavy equipment operator, and I think 5 or 6 for the laborer's position. So I started out by reviewing the best 2 applicants as far as qualifications and experience. So we did 4 interviews, well, technically 5. I interviewed Max also. And so it came down to offering Robert Zakaitis as the heavy equipment operator. He'll be coming to us from the town of Amherst. Got quite a few years, 27 years experience, I believe. But with that being said, in the municipal system, he started at a very young age. So he'll work a lot of years to retire, how the system works. So I think he'll be a great addition, very experienced in all areas of the DPW. The second appointment, Jackson Brouillard, he's coming aboard from Chicopee. I believe he has 4 or 5 years there. He's got quite a bit of parks and tree background and experience. He's right here in Haydenville. So I believe out of the 4 interviews, Dwayne and I had picked the best 2 candidates for the town of Hatfield. As far as experience, in their licensing, there's some licensing that Jackson has that's not required on the job description. That's going to make us very interchangeable, let's say. He has a hoisting license. It's not required, but he can run equipment. We're short-staffed, vacation. We got an emergency. We got vacations going on, and there's projects we have to get done. It's a great asset to have those additional licenses in the laborer's position. So he's very excited about, at some point, getting his Class B license, which will make us even more efficient. So those are my recommendations for the 3 positions.
Any question on these 3 appointments?
No, it's pretty good. I'll make a motion to appoint Max Bartlett as the highway crew chief.
Second?
Motion made, motion seconded. Any discussion? Motion carries.
And
Did you vote?
What?
Did you vote on that?
Oh.
Sorry.
Yes, aye.
Okay, great,
Aye.
great.
Aye.
Great, perfect.
I'll make a motion to appoint Robert Zakaitis as heavy equipment operator and laborer.
Second.
Motion made, motion seconded. Any discussion?
No.
Motion carries.
Aye.
Aye.
I'll make a motion to appoint Jackson Brouillard as highway laborer.
Second.
Motion made, motion seconded. Any discussion?
No discussion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Excellent.
Thank you. No better time to go into winter fully staffed, so it'll be good. So on to my report. The voluntary water ban, which by the way, just yesterday and officially declared today, was put into significant drought, which makes no changes for a voluntary ban at this point. But there's been a significant savings or usage is down by 200,000 gallons per day since we went to the volunteer water ban. It's much appreciated. I just want to give a shout out and say thank you to everybody for conserving and not really beating up our water system too bad in this drought. So we have incurred a few issues with meter reading and whatnot. So I put in the report that we've had a few problems and we've decided to contract a company to assist us in trying to work those kinks out. We also received a proposal to replace the town hall letters on the front of the town hall. I think it was somewhere, I didn't write the exact amount down, I apologize, but it includes painting, refinishing the bracketry, and doing a more composite material that'll last much longer rather than the wood that's out there now. But painting the front facade, if you will, building the letters, taking care of the bracketry and everything. I want to say it was shy of $8,000 or something. I can get you the exact figure and send it to you. I apologize. I've also been looking into taking the truck that's assigned to myself and trading that in, just for the simple fact of efficiency and something that makes more sense for myself to be driving or the staff to be taking to classes, so on and so forth. I did provide the information here on what I was looking at, and again, I'll take any questions you may have on that. We've been busy in the highway division, again, shorthanded, so we're getting a lot of the little things done preparing for winter. We shimmed up a few of the really terrible roads we had out there just to get us through till next spring. I also, to just dovetail off the Elm Court property a little bit, the other piece of it is there's plenty of room on that property. There's plenty of acreage if that's the direction we go in, that we can coexist up there as the DPW for some storage of some things too. We talked about that piece. The pole building behind the highway garage is all framed out. It's re-roofed. It would be pretty simple to close that in with doors at some point if we needed equipment undercover. As a matter of fact, 3 of the doors up at Elm Court, I believe, will fit 3 of those bays, because we'd have to put smaller doors on the end of that building for the cruisers. So I didn't mean to get off base with that, but it just came to mind when we were talking about it. We're looking for a new plow for truck 4. This is one of our CDL. It's a international. Prices have increased astronomically. The plow that we have for it is beyond repair. But we may have to go that route because we're looking at the tune of $18,000 for a 11-foot highway plow for that. I remember the identical plow probably 4 or 5 years ago was somewhere around $10,000, $10,500. So we're still investigating that, but we do have to come up with a plow. And I didn't really want to take a big hit on the snow and ice budget right out of the gate of that tune. So we're still hunting for that. Just got the salt bids in today and I accepted them through the FERCog. Salt, surprisingly, has gone up $12.30 per ton from last year's price. Low bidders, both first and second bidders. The other thing I didn't put in here we've been talking about is we're also going to be working on the signage for the Purple Heart signs. We're going to work with Mass DOT to get their approval on the spots out on West Street. And then the other areas will dig safe and the DPW will install them. So we're working on that. Hopefully we'll get that done pretty quick here, pretty soon. So the elementary school, the walkthrough went fantastic for the roof and the boiler. We did it on the same day on August 20th. The update to this piece is we do have the submittals in and we're reviewing them now to pick a designer. We're going to talk about it at the end of the week, and I believe we're going to have a meeting at the beginning of next week to choose a designer. So hopefully we can have them contracts ready for you fairly soon. Parking lots and paving. The update to the actual paving of Elm Street is the 17th and 18th. After we mill this week, it's the 17th and 18th, weather permitting, they'll be paving that section. So, and I do believe we updated Facebook and we will be changing the signboards once we mill. Route 5 water and sewer, I sent you all a separate letter on a thumb drive that I received. It was camera and video of the complete new system that got put in. We're waiting, at this point, I'm waiting for a response from CEI. We're still waiting on that. So I have no further update on that letter. It's been I believe it's been about a week since they've had it, last Tuesday. So I think, it would behoove us to wait to hear from CEI next.
As far as the salt, don't we have a contract with Franklin? What
Yeah,
did we?
FERCog. The new bids come out for this year. It goes yearly. So those were the new bids that came out of FERCog today that I had to sign off on.
Those are the bids you're looking at from the
Yes.
COG or?
Yes.
Yeah, it's the regional.
Yeah, there was 5 bidders on salt, and the lowest 2, it was Leeds and Eastern Mineral is the secondary. All bid by the FERCog.
Okay, so hopefully and on the next topic in my mind is CEI. Hopefully within the next couple of weeks, they respond to.
Oh, I think we need to give them a deadline at the end of this week.
Yeah.
If we haven't heard
Absolutely.
anything, we need to push that forward. I think, I don't want to speak for anybody in here, but
No, I completely agree.
I think the week was a nice courtesy, but now it's
Yeah.
time to.
Yeah, if I don't hear anything by the end of the week, we can send an email and say, hey, we had time to look at this, because I'd really like to see a response.
Yeah.
I will say, at least in our initial messaging to them, we just said, we want you to see this, and they did seem to respond with some concern, with a lot of concern. And they were very quick to get the materials, so let's just hope that they've been reviewing it thoroughly and are coming back to us with a plan, but we're gonna check in, this week, find out what's up.
Compacted replacement at the transfer station. I think we got our 20 years out of that one, to say the least. We got every penny out of it and then some, I'm told. So things are coming together for that. The only question now is the phase 3 power there, if I have to get it upgraded by Eversource with a new panel in the shed. But everything that I'm looking at is on state bid list, so we don't have to go through the formal bid process. Once I agree, or we agree to, what we're going to buy off state bid list, we're looking at 4 to 6 weeks for delivery and complete installation, is what I'm told. So we can probably work around the transfer station hours, possibly get the electrical done if we need to do additional electrical there. But I think we're in pretty good shape. I sent along an agreement for the GAP 4 Energy grant that DPC is putting together the grant application scope of work. I've heard from them a little bit, helping them, giving them information, put the scope together for the Ferry Street pump station. It's one of 3 or 4 that are definitely seeing some age. In particular, Ferry Street pump station doesn't have a generator. We're hoping that we can get a large enough grant out of this that we can add a generator to that pump station, or lift station, if you will. But you open the cabinet, Kenny, I was down there with Kenny, and you open the cabinet, like, wow, this stuff's old inside that cabinet. So it's good that we start updating our pump stations where we can. This is a pretty good deal, 10% match up to $350,000. So that's a pretty good deal. The cost for the services is $48.50, and I meant to put in here that the funding for that I'm taking out of the operating budget. There's a line item I can cover that out of the current sewer budget. I reviewed staffing with you. The new F-550 now has its plow, lighting, and lettering. That is good to go for the winter. So I could have written you 2 or 3 more pages, but we'll just stick to that for now.
Any questions for Marlo?
No, that's good. Thank you, Marlo.
You're welcome. I did have one question. We're going back to bi-monthly meetings. Is the first meeting of the month good for my update, or do you prefer on the second meeting of the month? Keep it right here or go to the second meeting?
Yeah, I think keep it here because that'll be another month, right?
Yep. I can adjust, whatever's convenient for you.
Yeah.
And first is generally good too, because when we don't have a second meeting, say in December, it's more likely to be towards the beginning of the month. So I think keep it at the first for now, and I'm sure it'll come up times when you do need to come to both, and we'll figure it out. But I think as long as the updates as thorough as this, we should be in really good shape.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, topic 13, town administrator report.
I'll be pretty quick. I think it's tough to follow Marlo. He's got a lot of good stuff to offer and very exciting new hires. So I'll be pretty quick. I think my report mostly stands for itself. Health insurance, basically the next step here is to better research our other options for what health insurance would look like next year. The trust, of course, is still our strongest option since we're already there, but the state's GIC and Maya's plans are also worth looking at. If we were to move to those, we would need to have them approved by our collective bargaining units. So I've reached out to the respective parties there and just keep them aware of that. And they've designated individuals to be on what's called the town's PEC, or Public Employee Committee. If the PEC is the one that ends up making these decisions, especially if you're moving to the GIC. So I'm making sure that I understand the process legally and that I'm reaching out to these folks so that we can get a process started in case we want to be making any changes. So nothing's happened yet. Hampshire County Group Insurance Trust has their next meeting on Thursday. I plan to go in case they have any updates, but they just sent around a financial model and nothing's really changed from what they presented before. So there's still concerns about moving forward with them, and we may want to look at our other options. Electronic timesheets. I have a meeting with Marlo on Friday with a representative from Harper's, who will be talking about what the process would look like for moving to electronic timesheets. The plan is to try to move 2 departments to start with as a pilot, and that would probably be fire and DPW. And I'll find out more on Friday. If Harper's isn't the right fit, I've got other companies that are very interested in working with us, and we'll be able to talk to them as well. But I think if this is something we want to do, which it definitely seems like it, then we'll be able to move forward. Okay. I'll skip IT. I included an update on grants. The biggest one is this one that we received from MVP, which is very exciting. And then waiting to find out on the state's one-stop program. We have two different grants that we applied for there that I'm hoping at least one of those comes through. One of them would actually be on some consultant assistance on a zoning overhaul. So that would really help with what was kind of talked about. It's the larger zoning study that we need to work on. And a couple other grants that are on here that we are either researching or planning on moving forward with. So some good stuff there. The Maya safety grants, that's a rolling application, just working with Marlo on finding a good use for those. We have trench boxes that we think we should be replacing and a couple other things that we can do with $10,000 from Maya. So we'll plan on making that happen. So that's it on grants. Smith Academy carpets are done in all the classrooms. If you really love the green and the orange carpets there, I regret to inform you that those are gone. They're pretty sharp looking carpets there. And Connor says it's all going very well there. They just have to finish carpets in the administrative offices, which we'll do over December break. And then Tammy and I will keep you posted on this. There's nothing that's happened yet, but we have some financial work to do, and we'll come in here with, like we did last October. I can't remember when it was, when we had all the documents for the borrowing for the wastewater treatment plant. We'll have some other borrowings that we do this year, one to extend a ban, others to start some other financing. So we'll come in with that probably early October. And I think that's all I need to go over this evening. Unless you have any questions. Anything else on here?
Okay.
No.
Thank you.
Thank you. Great. That was great.
Topic 14, select board goals.
So we've been talking about this for a little while, about just making sure we're establishing goals for the year. I think a lot of them have just been very apparent of things that we need to react to and do. I printed out for you, just so you have it, kind of a color-coded copy of the comprehensive plans goals that were assigned to the select board. And the green shows you anything that's short-term, the red shows you anything that's long-term, the yellow shows you anything kind of in the medium term. And there's a number of things in here that you can kind of group into different themes. There's kind of a transportation theme, an assistance to farmers theme, there's a schools theme, and an infrastructure theme. I'm just kind of throwing that out there as things to look at. But, I think
it's really up to this board to think about, if there's anything that you want to make sure we identify for this year that we definitely want to make sure we do, or, we can just kind of keep this as an agenda item to make sure we're coming back to it. So I'll leave it to the board to think about, how I can be helpful in setting, either goals for this year or delivering any of the things that we want to try to be doing.
Any questions?
No, it's good. Comprehensive plan thing. I like we're doing that.
And more, and you're on the
Yeah.
comprehensive plan committee, so more will keep coming out of that committee, which is good too. We'll meet next at the end of September.
Yes.
So it'll be good.
Okay, is there any, before we make a motion to go in executive session, do we have anything else under old business that needs to be discussed?
Not that I know of.
Okay, pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 30A, Section 21A, Exemption 6, to consider the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property, if the chair declares that an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the negotiating position of the public body regarding a license agreement and potential purchase at 57 Main Street. Do I have a second to go in executive session?
Second.
Okay, motion made, motion seconded by roll call. Jaworski, aye.
Kenyon, I. And we will not be returning.
And we will not be coming back into regular session. So thank you, John. Have yourself a good night.